thank you, Chris. Sorry about all that. I always seem to have technical difficulties getting started. But anyway, never mind. I'm going to talk about my blogging journey, which is actually when I was quite surprised when I looked into it to prepare for this presentation that I actually first started back in 2014. I've now got 5 blogs and they're for different purposes, well, 5 blogs that I'm involved in, I should say, and they're for different purposes. Back in 2014, I was actually inspired by a series many of you have probably heard of the 52 Ancestors, and I decided to start a blog. I thought it was a wonderful idea, and I thought I would start a blog to start participating in the 52 Ancestors. And I developed it at WordPress mainly because that's the platform that was suggested to me at the time. I set up this site, but I actually didn't do anything more than set it up, and I had no posts to it at all for quite some time. A year later, Kerry Farmer set up the DNA Sydney site for our research group, the DNA research group at SAG. And so I became a co-admin there, and probably it was working on the DNA Sydney site that I got a bit more confidence about working with blogs, and this was also on WordPress. So I continued with my other blog. I then created a travel blog, which is probably the blog that I do most of my blogging when we were allowed to travel, of course. And even last year, we did manage to get away for a few months around Australia. So I continued to do my blogging through the travel blog, which has been great for sharing our travels with family and friends. One of the problems I had about my Gene Monkey blog, which was intended to be my genealogy 52 Ancestors blog, was that I had started using Wikitree back in 2013. And Wikitree in some ways is an alternate to a blog in that you can write about stories about your ancestors on the site, and it's a free site. And I was trying to work out how the two would work together and how to differentiate what I was putting on Wikitree and what I was putting in my blog. And it took me until about 2016, November 2016, to actually do my first post on my Gene Monkey 25 blog. And I decided that I would make it more about DNA than about the ancestor stories, which was mostly on my Wikitree site. So it's sort of got a DNA focus, my Gene Monkey blog. One of the things I liked about WordPress is that you can auto post from WordPress to a Facebook group. When you hit the send button on WordPress, it automatically updates the Facebook group. So I've got a Facebook page, I should say. So I've got a couple of pages at Facebook for my travel blog and for my ancestors blog, the Gene Monkey blog, and that's very useful. And because some people aren't actually comfortable with joining some of these blogs. I've also got some Facebook groups, as a number of other people have already mentioned as well. And so I tend to post the link to these Facebook groups, and you can get a much wider audience through using some of these groups, particularly my Cassidy stuff, which has got 800 members. Earlier this year, as part of the blogging group, I decided to venture into Blogger as everyone was using that system. I found that Blogger is actually a lot easier to use than WordPress. So if people are starting up, it's probably a good place to start. I decided to be able to participate, I had to think up some sort of new blog to use. And I decided to set this one up as a support materials blog for the webinar series that we're currently conducting to do with chromosome analysis. So it's been a good vehicle to be able to write some content and share it with participants in that series. Probably though, I decided to, as Chris and Julie had recommended, we all use the same theme. I decided to start a new blog, and many of you will have heard me talk about my Courtney research over the years. And I've been at it for about 15 years looking for my mysterious ancestor, Arthur George Courtney. So I've created a blog specifically for George Courtney, and I've documented all the research that I've undertaken, and I'm slowly doing posts about all that research. So I've been putting posts on about the various rabbit holes that I've been down, explored and discarded. So they're there. And funnily enough, as I've gone through some of these things, I've found things I should have really followed up and probably wasn't as skilled at research as I am today back then. So it's been quite useful. I've documented a summary of my 15 years of research, all the different things I've explored. Often people will say to me, have you looked at this? Have you looked at that? And I go, yes, yes, yes. But then I can't remember the details. So I'm actually being able to document it here, and I'm then able to refer to people, say, yes, I looked at that and this is what I found, and send them the blog post. I'm also documenting the various genetic research that I've done in relation to Abigail Courtney, my second great-grandmother, whose father is the mysterious Mr. Courtney, and documenting all the various theories and possibilities that I've got. And you can see there that I'm progressively, though where they're red and blue, they actually are blog posts that exist, but I'm still actually having to write some of these other ones up yet. So it's a work in progress, really. I was lucky enough to talk at the SAG's Technology Day, or be interviewed, I should say, by Ruth. And you can still see or listen to and see the interviews on the SAG website under that link there. Bloggers, there's myself and two others that were very good presentations. And as I think Vanessa mentioned in the chat, there's actually also an area on the SAG members area that has information about various family history blogs that people are involved in. So my tips for people really are just start. Doesn't matter what you do, just start. And don't expect to be an expert in one day, and persevere with technology challenges. And there's always things that you come across every day, it seems to me, that don't work the way you expected, even though you thought you were able to do something, or you might have done something once five months ago, but you can't remember how to do it today. So you just got to keep persevering and try and keep up with the technology. And start simple. Add more bells and whistles as you go along, and you become more confident. Think about having different blogs for different purposes and audiences, which has been mentioned by others. And I just agree with what everyone else has said, is that writing actually helps you review your research, and you often find you know it in your head, but then you think to myself, well, how do I know that? You think you've got pieces of paper that justify what you're thinking, and then you have to go hunting for them, and sometimes you can find gaps that lead to new discoveries, and so that's always exciting. So that's it from me. Thanks, Chris.